So we're back with Dave, our apprentice. And Dave, how long has it been now?
About 3 months.
3 months. So, all right, 3 months working with the Concord Carpenter crew. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about what makes a productive learning environment, both from an apprentice's perspective and a mentor's.
Also from an employer, mentor, boss, or coach, right? So, productive learning environment. What do you mean by that? So Dave has a background in education, 10 years as a teacher. What do you mean by that? Sounds like a school teacher terminology, nomenclature.
It is. And it's something that's helped me a lot when I'm on the job and I'm looking at a new task or a new skill. But in general, productive learning environment requires an organized space, and not just the job site, but your tools and the day-to-day operation component. I think the biggest component is how the day-to-day operations are managed and how I'm managed as a young carpenter. Something I've noticed that's been really helpful for me is that goals are communicated to me in a very explicit way. Day-to-day goals.
Give an example.
Well, in terms of a day-to-day basis, you make it very clear what you want accomplished by the end of the day. And then dovetailed with that is you provide the necessary tools and resources and materials to accomplish that goal.
I think for me, I will send these guys an email on Sunday and say, the night before, or on a Monday night for Tuesday, and say, tomorrow we want to get the stairs done, the deck on, and the railings completed. And some of that, he likes that, and I do that through email or on, in person or on the phone if I'm not there. But some of that actually is the boss knowing the bottom line, so I know it's a 4-day job. So I think in my head, I'm building in my head when I'm doing estimating, okay, it's a day for footings, it's a day for frame, it's a day for decking and trim, it's a day for railings, or 5-day job. And I know that I need this done in order to stay on track and for the company to be successful, get the job done on budget, on time. I know I need certain things done. That's why I say to you, today we need to do this.
Yeah, and I think it helps for me as I've done a few projects start to finish now, but as I'm learning what is required to complete a set of stairs or a deck or framing an interior partition, as I start to learn all of the different steps that are required to complete those projects, you've taken out a big part of it, which is what tools and what resources do we need to complete it. And it allows me to focus on the steps needed to complete the project. So the next time we go to do it, I have a much better understanding of what
workflow,
exactly, and what is needed to accomplish.
A lot of that's
task.
Experience. Yeah, I think a lot of it's experience, knowing those steps and taking that away from you.
So a term we use in teaching a lot, which is directly connected to construction, is scaffolding.
No kidding.
You scaffold a student up to that final level of mastery of content or skills. And what that means is that you just slowly build that person up to that ability level, step by step, the same way you build scaffolding all the way up to your final destination.
Whatever, right.
A big part of something I've loved since I've started here is that there's growth opportunities. And each day, obviously, I have challenges in front of me that I didn't have the day before. And I have things that I've done before that I'm continuing to build on.
Or do differently.
If
we want you done differently.
So that's kind of where I was going with this, is that the feedback you give me is timely, meaning you give it at the right time. You're not giving me feedback on something I did a month ago. As I'm doing the work, and you're giving me the feedback I need so that the next time I do it, I'm hopefully doing it better. And partnered with that is that as I'm doing work, I feel like I have a space and freedom to make mistakes.
Right, that's important.
Right.
Yeah, you have to. So a part of it is, obviously we use the word scaffolding. We lay out, we structure the project, the job, and we lay out the daily goals, and we communicate those goals. You know at the end of the day what I'm looking for to get accomplished. Some days we don't get there, right?
Yeah.
Some days like, we didn't get that done or whatever, and I'm like, oh, all right, tomorrow we gotta, make up for it. And I know that I think as a boss sometimes, as I'm giving instructions and having these expectations, I need to do a couple things, and I learned this a long time ago. I need to be better at it. I need to do almost like which encoding, decoding. So I need to say, okay, Dave, what is it that I want you to do? Or, okay, do you understand? Have any questions? Or do you have any feedback? Or maybe rephrase it, or have you phrase it back, right?
In the teaching world, we call those check for understandings.
Check for understanding. There you go. I was reaching for them.
Yeah.
But I knew it. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So do you know exactly what I mean by that?
Yeah.
And I do sometimes say to you, do you understand what I'm saying? Or does that make sense? Or I need to be better at that, because here, if I had to explain it in a nutshell, it's, I know I want to do this, and I give Dave 3 steps to get there, and I know all the little micro adjustments along the way. I get all that. I know what can go wrong. I know what can go right, but I don't take the time to explain all that. I just say, do this, 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 and this will happen.
Right.
And sometimes I think I need to explain the sides. I think we do that, and we do that in all walks of life, right? People know 80%, they only talk 20.
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose communication or understanding along the way. So I need to be better about that, and I've noticed that.
And on the flip side too, I mean, this is the learning process. Is
Right.
As a student, you start to anticipate what kinds of things your mentor or your teacher is going to, say to you in response to work that you produce or
Right.
or ideas that you have. And so it's a kind of a negotiation between two people.
We talk about, when we're talking about those, the organization stuff, and we talk about providing tools and goals and things, something that I noticed from Dave from day one, and you may have brought this on from your teaching career, you may have brought it on for your other job sites that you worked on, is Dave carries a notebook. And it's just a little notebook, and we always have pens and pencils on us. I would recommend that to anybody in the trades, not even just an apprentice, but anybody who works for anybody. You can't, I know I personally can't store it. So I got to write it down. You're looking for a shingle, a piece of cardboard box. You should just have a notebook in your pocket. Yeah. And so I'll be like, okay, Dave, we're going to do this, this, and this. And I'll turn around, I'm like, where's Dave? And he's like 3 steps back. He's writing it all down. And then you're like, okay, what's in, and that notebook is smart. And I've noticed that it saved you, because you'll go back and look at things and go, or you'll check them off as you do them. So that's a great tool. And if we're talking about organizational skills and tools and things, I think the notebook is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny as we get more and more into using our phones and our computers for things, I find myself going back to paper to keep track of stuff, and it really has saved my butt a bunch of times.
Yeah, it has, and it's useful too. I'll be like, Dave, what was the measurement of that? And with days, a week later on something, you're like, oh yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah.
And you got it. And so it saves us from going back to the job site and measuring something or whatever. So
it also complements. I learned really well by visualizing things too. So to be able to sketch something out, even roughly, it helps me avoid mistakes when I'm cutting material or using a tool. I
wanted to go back to something you said, because we kind of breezed over it. You said room to make mistakes. So I make mistakes still. We all make mistakes. I get it. And I'll cut a board wrong. I get so angry with myself. As someone learning, and you're working with guys that have more skill than you in that trade, how does it feel to make that mistake? Or where's your mind? Where's your head like on the mistakes? And how do you feel like when you make a mistake with us on the crew?
Personally, I have a hard time building up the confidence to do something that I haven't done yet before, or that I know requires a very precise skill level. And so when I do make that mistake, it's not so much a shot at my confidence level. It's more like, oh man, how many more times do I need to do this to get this right?
Right.
Because I messed it up this time.
A lot of times it's reps. It's repetition.
But in this work environment, I don't ever feel like there's a pressure to do it perfectly the first time, or that somehow it's derailed the entire project.
Right. Well, we've tried to put you in positions where you'll win, right? So explain, demo, do, watch, we'll do it, then you do it, and then we watch you do it, and then we leave you alone. I don't know if you've noticed this, and you're sharp enough to notice this, but I will put Dave on something that maybe takes me 15 minutes to do, and I'll say, Dave, I want you to do this. I want you to take your time. I want you to figure it out. I want you to think it through. Call me if you get stuck. There's no time limit. Just do it. And 4 hours a day. If it takes me half a day, I'll give him a day. So I just want him to master that, and I want him to win. and I don't put a time limit on it. And it's a process, right? And as an owner, as a boss, I think you got to take a loss to win. So that's I guess that's how I explain it. You have to know going into it, if you're going to train new guys, you're going to lose. You'll lose on time, you'll lose on money, it's going to take longer. But if you do it right and you create the environment that you're not afraid to make that mistake or take your time, it's a win.
Yeah. I remember something that actually popped into my head the other day when we were working on those sets of stairs was the bathroom that we trimmed, that master bath that we trimmed out, or that you had me trim out, and
right.
it took me a really long time, and it was a very frustrating day for me. And at the end of the day, when you came by and looked at the work and gave me some pointers, those pointers were things that I was thinking of as I was trimming this deck. Ways to make my work more efficient. Yeah. And if I didn't have that day in that bathroom, I wouldn't have been as efficient as I was the other day.
But the point was, Dave spent a day trimming, and your miters were good and your copes were great, and it was a win. That's a win because we needed it. We needed it to get done. You probably got it in 80-90% there. And I think it was a good experience for you to do that. Would I have, in the future, the future Dave, I'd want Dave to do that in 3 hours, 4 hours, you know what I mean? But that's got to come with experience and reps.
Yeah.
And you just got to get that stuff under your belt. Along the way, I've been taking Dave with me to show him kind of behind the scenes as the estimating, the client relation stuff. What are you picking up?
Thinking ahead. And that's such a vague skill because it changes from one project to another, but training yourself to think of all the different variables and then backwards planning all of the steps and resources and tools that you would need to accommodate those different variables in that project.
Right.
And there's probably countless variables that go into any project, but at least having the mindset of being prepared rather than being underprepared is something that I'm noticing a lot when we go to do an estimate or we go to show up at a job the first day and we're thinking about how to approach, this
kind of
massive
reverse engineer it in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
So we looked at this porch. It's fallen down. The roof's good, so we're going to keep the roof, rebuild the porch, covered porch. So what I did with Dave is we looked at it, we took photos, we took measurements, and we went back to the office and we sat down and we demoed the porch on paper, and then we rebuilt it from the ground up, from footings to posts to deck to hangers to the decking to the posts to the railings to the stairs and to the trim and lattice. And I think it was useful for you to see me kind of work that. And I work it out on paper, then I type it on a Word document, and it's kind of my scope of work, and I try to be as detailed as possible. And then we put numbers to it, and we worked on pricing. And it might sound weird, talking money and things with an apprentice, but I want Dave, one of the things we want here is I want hire to retire, right? So I want Dave to grow to the point that he's running this company someday, and he's the boss, or he's the foreman, or he's running 2 groups, or whatever this company grows. You want Dave to grow with it, and the other Daves that we hire hopefully soon, and then Dave will train. So there can't be secrets. It can't be a secret sauce that you don't share with you. It has to be. You have to have transparency. You have to explain how the business works, how the business makes money, how the employees get paid, benefits get divvied out, and how you price that and how you win. I mean, the ultimate goal is everybody gets paid and the company grows. So we did that, and we reverse engineered that porch, and I showed him all the behind scenes stuff. So I showed him what the guys make, what I expect, how many days it would take. We made a materials list and we priced it, and then we talked about profit, overhead, expenses, things like that. So I'm hoping you find that useful, so that when you're actually building this porch, you'll remember in the back of your head, oh yeah, this was a 10-day build, like that.
Yeah, and I think what that helped me do is break this romantic idea of being a carpenter as just a guy that carries a tool belt and swings a hammer. It's more than that. In order to survive with this skill set, you have to understand the business end of it as well.
Right.
For me to provide for my family, I need to know how my skills and my time are valued and how I should be using them in the most economically efficient way. Well, so I found it incredibly helpful to think about carpentry work from a business perspective.
Right. And then we've been talking to clients too, so there's a communication.
Yeah.
And you brought it up the other day. you have to educate folks because they don't understand a lot of things. You know, a lot of times people say, "Oh, can you just slap this in? Give me a price to throw that in." It's like, well, it's 3 days to throw that in. It takes 3 days.
Right.
You know, it's a process. There's baseboard, there's crown molding, there's tie-in, there's plaster. And you've already been with me when I've been dealing with contractors, and we have our frustrations with some of the old school contractors and their mindsets. And it seems to me, and I've been using a lot of the guys that I used for 18, 20 years, but it seems to me that some of these guys, we joke about it, they wake up in the morning, they put their boots on and like, what am I going to do today? Right? It drives me crazy. It's like I'm mapped out for 6 weeks. I mean, I know exactly in general terms what we're doing, you know, and then every day I make a list every single day. But do you see the lack of preparation on a lot of guys? Even guys that we work with on our crews and different things, you know, you show up with a coffee in your hand like, okay, what are we doing today? There is zero thought until you step on the ground at the job site of what's going on.
Yeah. And that's good.
You used forward thinking. I always use the term, what's the next step?
Yeah.
And you can use that in any business, in anywhere, in any issue in life. What are the next steps? And I think you hit on something that was good. I think, yeah, we're building, you know, this widget right now, but what do we need next? And it, you know, maybe you're not obsessing about it, but you're thinking about it. You're picking up tools. Talk about some of the tools. How do you came in with some, right? What are you finding? Your truck, for instance.
Yeah, pickup truck is not the best vehicle for a carpenter.
Yeah, we've learned that.
The way I'm making it work is using pack-out systems so that I can take what I need and kind of drop it in the house and still have it in a secure place. But the bigger tools, the miter saws, the table saws, those don't fit in a pickup truck.
No.
And
Dave runs a 2013 Toyota Tacoma, and he's got what do you call that thing? It's a cover, but tonneau cover. Tonneau cover. So basically, he's got that filled with tools. It's like 10 pounds of flour in a 5-pound bag. And then, do you have stuff in the back seat too?
No,
because of the baby seat, right?
Yeah.
So as a boss, my goal, and we've talked about this, my goal for Dave is I need him to have more storage. So I want him to roll up, and I want him to have a miter saw and a table saw, and I want him to have at least a 6-foot and a 3-foot ladder. And it would be nice if he could, you know, have a box of a pack out of drop cloths and glues and nails and all kinds of stuff. But he only has room for so much. So we've talked about a cap. And hopefully, you know, we'll start with a cap and then maybe we get a ladder rack because it'd be good for you to be able to throw lumber or a ladder, a big ladder. And that's my goals. I want to be able to send him places. But I think trailer, box truck, van, or a truck with a cap. And I think that'll be the goal for you. And then we could trick it out, kind of make it.
I think there's a productive way to organize a truck with a cap.
Probably,
to accommodate all the different things that we need.
Dave likes feedback.
I do love feedback. I think that's the place to start is that there's really, I don't think any better way to get to improve your skill set by getting feedback from somebody that's experienced and that knows what they're talking about. A big part of it though is giving it at the right time.
Right.
When I got a saw ripping through a piece of wood, it's probably not the best time to give me feedback, and that's not something you do.
Yeah.
Giving feedback when you're in a place to pay attention and take notes or do it again, that's the time to give it.
You know, it's funny. I think a feedback that was given to me when I was younger was, you know, what the F are you thinking? What are you doing, you dumbass? Go sit in the truck for the rest of the day. You know, you just wasted that $50 piece of wood. I can't believe you just used that, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, and you know, there's a certain amount of ball busting or joking that we do, and that's fine. But when you're serious, that's not conducive to learning, I don't think. And it's certainly not developing any kind of sense of, you know, confidence by calling them a dumbass or you just F that up or, you know, like I'll give you an example. You might not even know this, but remember when you were insulating the copper mine bathroom and the wire was coiled up on the wall? I forgot to tell Dave this again. I know all these things and I just make assumptions, but the electrician left the wire coiled up in the wall. We were going to cover it for a sconce. We didn't know where the sconce was going because the mirror wasn't defined yet and we didn't have height, so the electrician was just going to pull it out where he needed it. Dave saw the wire in the wall, recognized that it shouldn't go in the wall when he was insulating, so he pulled it out, and it was like 16 inches too low or something. So, it was just like, I was like, oh. And then I was like, yeah, he didn't know, So we had a conversation about that, and we talked about why Basil, the electrician, leaves it in the wall, and why we do that sometimes, and typically where we do it, sconces and things like that. So I think feedback is absolutely necessary in order to grow and get better, and I think it goes both ways too. So, he's learning a skill set, and we're trying to coach and teach him along the way. So he's probably getting more feedback from us, but we need the feedback too. We need to know if we're supporting you enough, if you feel like you've got the right direction, if you feel like you're being, if there's proper leadership or things along the way for the company. And I think that goes both ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot, and at least in my experience, employees do not give the bosses feedback. They'll talk about the boss behind their back, but they don't really say, hey, this can be better, or can we work on this? And I think that's something that you have a skill. You're very good at that. You're a good communicator. I think you bring that from your teaching days too. I think you're really good at that stuff. I mean, who else deals with 30 kids in front of you? And
Adolescent
children pulls it off. But,
yeah.
So I think the feedback is great. What else? Some of the older guys that you work with along on these different job sites and different trades, have you found they're grumpy? Or they don't talk to you? These different guys. We've worked for like 6 different trades, right?
Yeah.
In remodeling. So
I wouldn't say grumpy. I would say that they're not used to communicating.
They just come and do their own thing type thing?
Yeah, they kind of have that tunnel vision. And I love asking questions, and I love learning about things that I don't know anything about. And so I find myself asking a lot of questions and then realizing that this person doesn't want me to ask them any questions. They just want to drink their coffee and do their work. But there have been a few subcontractors we've worked with who love talking about their trade, who will tell me,
Chris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who will just keep going and going and going and going, and I eat it
you
up.
Start walking backwards. Go right back.
Right.
Get something.
Right. Then it
walk
becomes
and talk. Walk and talk. So 3 months in, so far so good.
So far so good.
Dave has been once a week or so. He's been kind of doing a post on our Instagram channel, Concrete Carpenter Instagram. Check us out. Like us on Instagram. And Dave's going to continue to do posts and things that he sees along the way, or that inspire you, or kind of get you going.
Yeah.
Any last words?
No, I'm just yes, I am just very appreciative for this kind of learning environment. I think it's what is needed, really in any industry, but particularly in this industry where we have this gap, that everybody talks about of skilled trade labor. I'm not going anywhere. This is a
Awesome.
good place to be.
Awesome. All right, guys, take care.
Thank you.